All men's hot dogs cut off when sleeping with her. This is a film about a girl named Dawn who discovers that she has a curse on her pussy, a cute and funny condition where she has fangs inside her vagina. Oof. Dawn is an innocent Christian girl who really cares about her virginity. But when she met Toby, nature took its course, and the pair answered the call. Dawn just realized that she has an abnormality in her pussy, as in a vaginal dentata myth. That is when her pussy bites off all men's hot dog that enter her pleasure hole. And the sex adventures of this innocent girl become very exciting and tense. The film begins with the O'Keefe family enjoying a relaxing summer. Bill and his wife are watching the kids play in the pool. Brad doesn't accept Dawn as his sister. Bill, angry at Brad's behavior towards Dawn, but his wife Kim asked him to be lenient on the child. The stepsisters sit in the pool and Brad shows his little hot dog down there to his sister, and then he asks her to show hers. Okay, what's wrong with this kid? Does the girl have hot dogs down there? What you found is a pink clam. Suddenly, the couple heard their son sigh with pleasure, scream of pain, and they saw the cut on his finger. Brad said he just stuck his finger in his little sister's tiny black hole. That's how this film gives us a hint of what's coming next. Later, Dawn became a beautiful and voluptuous teenager. But instead, she joined and became a spokesperson for a Christian group called The Promise. The group encourages boys and girls to keep their virginity until they are married. Dawn calls it a gift from God. With bands of promises on the fingers of all members of The Promise, she asks them to remain patient and faithful until someone places a wedding ring on their finger as a reward for their efforts to escape the temptation of a large hot dog or the pleasures of a black hole. On the day of her seminar, she meets Toby through her friends Gwen and Phil. Dawn and Toby hit it off immediately and seemed attracted to each other. Meanwhile, at home, her mother is sick, and his father takes care of her. Her brother, Brad, has grown into a teenager trying to be cool but still looking like a drunken hippie. At school, Dawn is bullied for being the spokesperson for the Promise Club, which they consider old-fashioned to avoid having sex before married. However, the school's administration is orthodox, and their teachers are uncomfortable talking about women's private parts. The state council has ordered to replace all depictions of the female genitalia with diagrams in all textbooks. While Dawn seems unfazed by the decision, Ryan questions the teacher and highlights the discrepancy. He asked how studying the female genitalia was different from studying the male genitalia. Dawn volunteered to answer and said that women are different because they have an inherent humility that is part of their nature. While the whole class was making fun of her, Toby spoke up for her. Gwen, Phil, Dawn, and Toby go to the movies after school, and at the theater Dawn and Toby are attracted to each other after seeing someone else making out next to them. Oh, I'm curious, which of you likes to stick your hands in your pants at the movies? Oh, I have a bad feeling about this now. Meanwhile, Brad is trying to persuade a girl to do but intercourse only. Brad has the determination to only insert his hot dog into the pleasure black hole of the woman he truly loves. Wow, this family is truly magical. Meanwhile, the four of them go to see the lake, which has a cave nearby. The cave is a famous make-out place for young couples. Wait a minute, I need to find the location before the local government enforces Sharia law. Whatever, Dawn and Toby sat together, and Toby asked if anyone had touched her there. Somewhat a strange question, she immediately refused to answer, and Toby asked if she was still a virgin. I'm still virgin, what about you? Can our hands make our virginity disappear? It was revealed that she had intercourse a year and a half ago, and she is still dealing with her wrongdoing. Dawn consoles him and tells him that he is stronger now than ever because he has experienced the danger of first-hand sex and managed to get resolved. One night, as she is getting ready for bed, she fantasizes about marrying Toby. She imagines how big Toby's hot dog will be and begins to sensually touch herself. A bell from heaven rang in her ears, and she immediately regretted her actions and reminded herself of the promise to remain pure. The next day, Dawn innocently confesses that she dreams of Toby's hot dog, but she still wants to be a chaste virgin. Despite enjoying their time together, the two agree to keep their distance from each other. Back home, Dawn reads about Medusa, the goddess who has the most pubic hair in the world. Wait, what? The goddess who turns humans to stone. She overhears her brother arguing with his girlfriend about butt intercourse. Her girlfriend screams at her, even though she loves butt intercourse, but she wants the other hole, her pink calm hole, to be pampered too. And she starts questioning his love for her. Does he just love her ass? Dawn tries to strike up a conversation with his brother, but is thrown back by his rude behavior. She visits the Love Lake, aka Makeout Place again. Unknowingly, the conversation about the butt intercourse had made her aroused, and she decides to call Toby with the excuse of swimming. The two of them then undressed and had fun swimming together. They kiss each other and agree it doesn't feel wrong to them. Moments later, Toby's hot dog starts to grow. Toby then approaches Dawn with a lustful gaze. Dawn stops him to remind him of the promise of purity. They then swam towards the cave and found a cozy corner with a blanket. They wrap it around themselves and share a few kisses. Without them noticing it, Toby's hot dog had grown unstoppable. When Dawn becomes uncomfortable with Toby's lust, she suggests they return. But because the hot dog felt like it was going to explode, Toby began to force himself and pushed Dawn's head against a rock. Dawn falls unconscious while Toby takes advantage of the situation. But when he started stuffing his hot dog into Dawn's pink clam hole, Toby suddenly screamed in pain. Dawn was confused by everything that was happening around her and saw blood on her hands. Toby cried out in pain and saw the tip of his hot dog fall to the ground. Oof. Toby immediately left the cave screaming. Dawn is overcome with fear, especially after seeing the piece of hot dog next to her. She called Toby, but after getting no answer, she got dressed and headed back into the house. That night, she has nightmares about Toby's tip hot dog and venture on a picture taped to her wall. The next day, she was invited to speak at the promised gathering and was visibly nervous about the speech itself. Dawn's head is filled with images of Toby's tip hot dog pieces lying on the ground of the cave. Are the tip hot dog okay? Maybe it tastes like meatballs. She took the stage, but was unable to speak. She is confused and stutters about the session. The incident haunted her, and she felt Toby's hot dogs seemed to be everywhere. Ryan, who has always liked Dawn, asks her out after driving to her house. Dawn says that it's cute, but she refuses. This disappointed Ryan. He thought about it after passing his house and made a U-turn to come back and talk to her. He knocked on the door and was greeted by Brad. He punched Ryan in the face and asked him to get off his property. Dude, this brother is such a jerk, reminds me of me. Meanwhile, Dawn cycles returns to the lake and finds Toby's car still parked there. She swims back into the lake and is horrified to see that Toby's hot dog is still there and covered in flies. She then stood on a hill and threw away her purity ribbon. Like Wiseman said, God created the world, everything else is made in China. Back home, she keeps a page from her textbook to remove the sticker from the Volvo diagram. The sticker came off without tearing the page, and Dawn was shocked to see a detailed diagram of female genitalia for the first time in her life. She then took to the internet to find information about the vaginal mutation. She found that fanged vaginas occur in many different cultures around the world. The story says that the hero has to fight toothy creatures such as women to break his strength. She learns that a mythical condition called vagina dentata, it occurs in many different cultures around the world. Horrified after reading all this, she immediately called a gynecologist. I don't know what's going through your heads, but I think it would be cool if my hot dog's head had a pair of horns. Dawn gets an appointment on behalf of Miss Cobb and tells the gynecologist that this is her first time visiting the clinic. She told him that she wanted to be checked to make sure that her body had not undergone any adaptations. Doctors initially told her that she was going through her womanhood. He assured her that no judgment would be made about her sexual life and continued with the examination. With a perverted face, the doctor started to apply lubricant around the surface of Dawn's clam and started to put her hand into the clam's hole under the pretense of observing it. He touched it and put his hand inside, wiggled his fingers, and started to move around in the hole. He asked her to stay calm as it is a medical procedure. Wow, it seems like a lot of fun being a gynecologist. But suddenly he felt something gripping his finger, like a piranha fish had bitten him. They both heard a clenching sound, and he realized his hand was stuck in Dawn's pink clam hole. He tried to let go of her hand. After much difficulty, he managed to let go with a painful sound. He saw that his fingers had been cut from his hands. Dawn screams in fear as both are horrified by what just happened. The doctor screams that the dentata vagina is real. Dawn quickly ran out of the room and fled the scene. As the Dawn cycle was returning home, a police car passed, and she thought for a moment that it might be for her. Next, she sees a Jeep Cross passing by and mistakes the driver for Toby. Being reminded of him, she then visits the lake to look for him. There she finds out that a scuba team has retrieved Toby's dead body from the lake. There are detectives and police present at the scene, and she is heartbroken to see Toby's dead body. She gets back home with overwhelming guilt and notices that her mother has collapsed on the floor. Her brother is busy having intercourse with his girlfriend, so he could not hear his mom do the loud music in his door. Dawn wakes up at the hospital with a nightmare about the chomping sound. Her father sends her back home and asks her to take a rest. Dawn comes back home, her brother and his girlfriend arguing about the same topic, but intercourse. She reaches out to Ryan and cries in front of him. She tells him that her mother is in the hospital. She also told him that she needed to turn himself in to the police station. She told him that she had killed someone she was afraid of but tried to support her. She told Ryan that he almost killed 2 people, and it was all because her tiny clam had fangs down there. She was crying in his arms, and he was trying to comfort her and calm her down. Later, she relaxes in a bathtub and Ryan offers her medicine to calm her down. He says that her mom takes it to calm her nerves. He prepares the room with candles and puts on soothing music and opens up a bottle of wine for both of them. When Dawn steps out of the bath, she looks for her clothes and informs him that she wants to go to the police. Ryan tells her that the pills might make her a bit fuzzy and she should go to the police the next day. He had arranged a date that was Dawn's dream and gave a toast addressing her as the smartest and prettiest girl he has ever known. Dawn then spills wine on herself and leans onto Ryan, who assures her that he's there for her. He then goes on top of her and wants to have intercourse. She gives him consent and he continues. Meanwhile, the doctors find a rare structure in the penile stump of Toby's body. They are confused about what the structure exactly is. It seemed like a tooth belonging to sharks or eels, but their tests revealed that it belonged to a human. Meanwhile, the gynecologist undergoes surgery sewing his fingers back on his hand, refusing to tell the surgeon what chopped them off in the first place. Meanwhile, Dawn continues having sex with Ryan. As Dawn moves her ass up and down back and forth like riding a horse, she finds out that it turns out Ryan was betting with his friends whether she can have sex with her. Dawn is angry when she hears Ryan making fun of her sacred abstinence. She says that she never believed that it was sacred, and that makes her even angrier. The next moment, they both heard a clinch followed by Ryan exploding in agony. Dawn gets up to leave and notices that Ryan's hot dog has also been cut, just like Toby's. Without any guilt, she walks away and reaches out to the hospital. The nurse asks her to sit down if she had something to tell her. Back at home, Brad's father asks him to leave the house, and Brad accuses Kim of making his father do that. Brad and Bill get into a fight, and Brad admits that he is angry with his father after marrying Don's mom, and Mata, his sister, he confesses that he loved her. While his dog overpowers his father, he enough to say that Don loves him too. Bill goes back to the hospital with Melanie, and they find out that Kim has passed away. Melanie apologizes to Dawn and tells her that she and Brad heard her mother screaming, but Brad said that she does that all the time. Dawn is struck with revelation. She heads back home, dresses up, and enters Brad's room. She then seduces him, and for the first time he appears nervous in front of her. He asks her why she has decided to do this, and she asks him if he was scared. He flips her hair back while she resists and signals him to have intercourse with her. He takes a moment and penetrates her while telling her that they both always knew that this is how things would turn out to be. Dawn looks him straight in the eyes, and they both hear a clench sound. He then realizes what just happened and feels tremendous pain. Brad is finally able to pull away and sees that his hot dog had been chopped off. He wonders where it went and sees that it fell from between Dawn's legs. We take a look at it again in slow motion. When she stands up, he orders his pet dog mother to go get her. But instead, the hungry dog eats the hot dog. Yummy! Dawn leaves the room as Brad begs her to stay, screeching with pain. The movie ends with Dawn asking for a lift after her bicycle breaks down in the middle of the road. A car stops by and she gets in. The driver, who looks like a perverted old man, locks the door and looks at her greedily. He smacks his lick and hangs his tongue out, looking disgusting as fuck. After constantly trying to unlock the door, the movie ends with Dawn giving the old man a seductive look, and that is the end of the movie. I hope you don't run into Dawn out there. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below.